So as mentioned, South Africa is under further restrictions under renewed alert level 3. Following President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement yesterday, the extension also includes the sale and distribution of alcohol, which was first reintroduced last December. There are growing concerns that the lack of alcohol is leading to desperate consumers' dangerous ways. According to Contralesa, there has been an increased number of deaths around the country after consuming home-brewed alcohol. Contralesa President Kgosi Larmeck Mokoena says they have also received complaints about this happening in areas where traditional leaders are in charge. Contralesa's General Secretary, Zolani Mkiva, joins us now. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mkiva. Thank you so much for speaking to us. A very worrying reports that we're hearing here. Please expand a little bit more to us. What other incidents are you hearing of? We know the first one we heard was that on New Year's Day in the Free State.
Yes, indeed, we can confirm that there are unpleasant stories of our people consuming what is said to be behind the scene or a concoction which is alcoholic, which they then consume in order for them to get intoxicated. We believe that this stuff is poisonous, and we are getting reports that this is a mixture of the hand sanitizer with spirit and in some instances with petrol or paraffin. And we can confirm that some people have died both in the Free State as well as in the Eastern Cape. It's really very terrible to hear this news. We do not understand why our people will be going to that extent of desperation wherein they need to drink, that is, if they are dependent.
We'll talk
on
about
alcohol.
The possible causes in just a moment, but if you can, let's talk about the Eastern Cape for now. What areas are you hearing as being affected, and just how widespread is this trend?
Well, we have not heard about it being widespread, but we have heard that in the former Transkei, for instance, that there are people who have died as a result of that, and some people have also been admitted. Initially, we heard of about 2 or 3 deaths and 6 people that were admitted. Then we heard about it as well in the Free State, wherein also there was a issue of mortality there. So we are worried that this may escalate, because once people believe that something is consumable and it does do what they expect it to do insofar as intoxicating them, it may escalate to other areas. And it is for that reason that the National Executive Committee made an appeal and cushioned all its provincial structures to begin to pay attention to that and actually go on to a public education telling our people to desist from doing that.
As I mentioned earlier, that Kgosi Mokoena was saying that some of this is happening in areas where traditional leaders are presiding over those areas. Is it people, members of the community, who are concerned bringing this to your attention, or are you finding out after the tragic end or consequences when people end up in hospital, or those few deaths that you noted as well?
We were not notified directly by the people in our constituencies. We heard this first and foremost from the news reports, and after having heard from them, we then heard from our communities directly. But we immediately made a communique to all our structures to ensure that we prevent this from escalating by way of educating our people. So indeed, in the 2 cases where it has occurred, we are told that it has happened in a rural village, and one of the rural villages is under the jurisdiction of a traditional authority.
I mean, some people make light of it in the sense that people are desperate to get drunk, but obviously it does speak to deeper issues, social, economic ills. Just from the areas that have been highlighted where this has happened, what do you think is the cause of this desperation?
Well, alcohol has been banned, and we support the banning of the alcohol as Contralesa. Now, some people whom I would consider as thugs, they would put this concoction together for purposes of making money, and they would trap our people into saying that this is alcohol in a classical sense.
Okay.
And I think because people are in the margins of our communities, would not have systems to confirm the veracity or the authenticity of what is being called alcohol or alcoholic. And then they consume innocently, thinking that indeed it is something that is consumable by humans. And that's why they fell into that trap. I don't think that they drank this, consciously knowing that it's a sanitizer mixed with spirit or petrol or paraffin. I think they were trapped by those because we are told that this stuff was for sale, was on sale. It is not just a question that it was made available to community members for free of charge. Obviously, it would have raised eyebrows, but I think that these people are trapping our people. They put these in brandy bottles or wine bottles or whiskey bottles, and then they sell it to our people under the guise that it is authentic.
So this education drive that you are appealing not only members of Contralesa but the communities to undertake, you highlight a very important point that culturally we would take traditionally made liquor, but that's normally a communal thing that is done out of neighborliness, sharing. How do we say, there's a difference between the two? And
umqombothi can easily be identified by our people, not only by the eyeball, but also through smelling. Because they can relate to that. It is something that is part and parcel of their communal arrangement. And umqombothi, as it were, is not necessarily alcohol. It is non-alcoholic. It is just it's a traditional brewed stuff, which is both medicinal, but it is also for enjoyment. So people can relate to that one easily. They can immediately verify because traditional is something that has come through their history and their heritage. So there's no question about it. It is not something that is linked to umqombothi or traditional beer. Far from it. This is purely an exercise by thugs who want to make money at the expense of the lives of our people. And it is important, therefore, that the point you are raising about public education, that it must be emphasized, it must be mainstreamed. And I'd like to say that to broadcasters like yourselves, radio, TV, they must give much more time to educate our society, not only about this incident, but basically about the new normal, which is basically abnormal in the eyes of our people because they can no longer run their lives in the normal way that they used to. So there are a number of things that they are questioning, for instance, which also relates to the issue that we had recently about the exhumations that were happening. So even this one of this alcohol or the alleged poison, which is being sold to our people under the guise that is alcohol, it's also as a result of that. So we need to occupy space both on the ground, but as you know that we are being cushioned not to interact with community members.
And we do commit to do that, and we appreciate the time. Thank you so much, Contralesa's General Secretary Zolani Mkiva. Stern warning to those who are selling homemade brews to unsuspecting consumers, saying that it's thuggery and that it should desist.